everyone. Really excited as we're diving into the low-code landscape today with a true innovator in the arena, WaveMaker. Vikram, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing, Evan?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much. Really intrigued by the work you guys are doing. Maybe give us a high-level overview. Who is WaveMaker and who are the clients that you are serving these days?
WaveMaker is actually an enterprise software platform for professional developers to accelerate and improve the productivity of how they build web and mobile applications. That's the simplest way to put it. But again, we differentiate, if you've heard of this space of low code, we differentiate in what I said, which is that we focus more on professional developers, whereas low code tends to have the connotation that you're trying to democratize application development, and therefore it's more focused on citizen developers and people who don't write code usually. So that in itself is something that we stand out for. But a couple of other things that WaveMaker's done since we came out of VMware in 2013. We are now a privately held company. We used to be part of VMware. For the last 11 years, we've doubled down on B2B2C apps, as much as some of the more low-code tends to be more internal-facing applications or B2B. But a lot of our customers value WaveMaker for the experiences that we deliver, so modern, classy, high-fidelity UX, customizability, all of that tends to stand out. Today, we are in about 17 countries worldwide. Customers in financial services, telco, healthcare. The US is our largest market. And also, one of the things that stands out about WaveMaker, which industry analysts like Forrester have called out, is the fact that WaveMaker actually helps product companies build products, which is a very high bar. And as you think about, citizen developers, then you've got professional developers in enterprises and IT, and then you've got product developers who are at the highest echelon when it comes to like fidelity and relegating their product development to a platform like us. So that's a little quick intro about who we are, what we do, where we stay.
Fantastic. And what are some of the most urgent, pressing pain points that your enterprise customers are facing these days, and helping them solve? So many out there, but both on the business side and the technical side.
We serve two kinds of customers, Evan. So one are enterprises. So think of a Home Depot or just any bank for that matter. Right? For them, it's about tech debt is the biggest problem that we address. A lot of them have legacy applications. These are not performant. They are not competitive in the market. Consumers like you and me are now used to using applications that look really good, classy, whatnot, right? They have sometimes security vulnerabilities. Nowadays, cybersecurity is a very big thing, right? So you can have a tech stack for an application that exposes you to security threats. So in some sense, what we help them do is to modernize in a very, sort of, you can say like methodical manner, where you modernize the tech stack. Of course, most of them will move to microservices and whatnot, but then you also want to build these modern front ends, modern capabilities for user experience to stand out and whatnot. So one is that problem is a huge problem. And I think because they've had this tech debt, there's also that once bitten, twice shy kind of thing. Like, you don't want to go and invest in a platform that actually is a one-way door. You want to be able to have a two-way door. You want to be able to have zero lock-in. The platform by itself generates real code, so you can actually export the code outside, so there's no lock-in. Some of that is what we solve for enterprises. The second category of customers that we address are independent software vendors. Like I said earlier, they actually make software products. For them, software is the business, and it's a super high bar, very critical. But their problems are very different. They actually have not just, of course, outdated tech stacks and experiences, but also for them, they need to differentiate and win in the market based on how the software actually performs, number one. Number two, for them is customizability. A lot of their customers are enterprises. So for them, you can have yourself spooling up multiple teams for each and every customer to customize the software, because your enterprise customers want something different. So WaveMaker is a very powerful extensibility and customizability platform for them, where they actually build on a standard, you can say like microservices layer. They build the experience layer of WaveMaker, which can be easily customized for their customers, cutting down time to market, increases profitability faster, right? So you don't have to spend like margin dilutive professional services teams who basically dilute your software margins, right, for each and every customer. And then basically you can absorb more demand more faster and win market share. So really, we're doing a lot of business-focused things for ISVs.
A fantastic value prop. So it's an exciting time. As you know, low-code and no-code solutions are kind of flooding the market. And there are many options out there, including big tech, who've gotten in with Gen AI and AI code generation tools. But it's a little confusing. So, why are companies picking WaveMaker over other platforms or technologies? Let's say, how do you stand out in this crowded field?
It's February 28th, 2025. So I can give you a snapshot as of today. I can't pontificate about the future. But I think as things stand today, the Gen AI space is obviously something that we are keenly aware of. WaveMaker uses a model-based code generation scheme today. Going forward, we may actually think about a Gen AI-based code generation scheme. Right? But today, we stand behind the code. So if you actually drag and drop something on the canvas, we can actually certify and say that this is tested, this is functional, this is performant code. We do a lot of work under the covers to actually make sure that we use, for example, in Angular, we do things like tree shaking and whatnot to make sure the algorithms are perfected so that when you as a developer are doing things that are very visual, the code that gets generated is actually very performant, right? So in some sense, we're doing a lot of that behind the covers. But before we relegate all that to like a Gen AI model, we are actually sort of being very careful about that in terms of what we can stand behind. But having said that, we are not standing still. So today, we already use AI in the platform. So a lot of our customers, like I said, want to build experiences. They don't have APIs ready. They may have an idea about what data sources they want. So in some sense, we have things like what we call as Mockingbird, which actually creates mock APIs, which is very useful for this world of API-first developers. We just launched something called AutoCode, which is a game changer for people who are really frustrated by the amount of time and effort it takes for you to convert a design. So let's say the app design is created by a designer in a tool like Figma to then create working UI. Right? In some sense, it's a chasm between developers and designers. And we, for the first time in our 12-year history, have decided to go upstream to the design side to be able to help sort of resolve that fissure or chasm. Right? So that uses today machine learning to be able to look at a design and understand what component it can map to so that developers don't have to do the heavy lifting. There's a bunch of things that we're doing in the ML and the AI space, but Gen AI is coming down the line.
Yeah, great opportunity. So I am off to Mobile World Congress tomorrow in Barcelona, and of course the annual get-together of the telecom industry. And one of the many hot topics there are network APIs, opening up the black box that is traditionally or historically the telecom network. They've been talked about for some time, but finally gaining traction and momentum. Maybe talk about this shift and how you're leveraging this opportunity with your platform to make those APIs more intuitive and developer, friendly.
It could have happened at a better time. I think in general for the industry, I think developers are, 2 years ago, I don't think any developer would have thought about network APIs. If you said, like, what would a developer want to do with AD&T or Verizon or T-Mobile? I guess nothing would be the answer. Because all the applications were over the top. And basically, they just assumed the network was one single monolithic thing. So if you build an asset tracking application or you build a remote control for a drone application, whatever it is, you presume that you basically got what you want from the network and you couldn't control certain primitives that the network exposed. But you touched on that already, so I don't mean to use this opportunity to talk about network APIs. But what we are solving there is WaveMaker is an API first platform, right? And we've always been a developer platform. We've not been, like I said, for citizen developers or business users. So this is just a sweet opportunity, great timing. We can subsume these APIs within WaveMaker. This is the starting point. We can minimize all of the grunt work that's required in working with these APIs. See, look, if you look at these APIs today, device location, number verification, or SIM swap, or any of these, these are uh, these are built by telcos for the first time, literally in the last 12 months, right? So they think about, first of all, there's a lot of network capability exposure that they need to think about. There's a lot of standardization of these APIs. I'm sure you're aware of these forums like Mara and the GSMA Open Gateway project, right? So there's a lot of standardization because developers don't want to build applications for one operator. They want to do multi-operator use cases. So in some sense, there's a lot of work that's already going on there. But people are so focused on that the telcos may not necessarily think about the developer experience. And that's where we come in. So if we can abstract a lot of the complexity and the grunt work in working with these APIs, handle errors, do things like masking, do things like creating the ability for these APIs to be encapsulated in components, in UI widgets. I don't think anybody's done that before, but that's the direction we are heading.
Well, it's an exciting one. Great to see after myself, decades in the industry, this finally coming to fruition. And but there's always a gap between the API and real world use cases. There's a lot of sandboxes and demos and trials out there. But do you have any use cases yet where you're seeing some traction or some particular opportunities?
Yeah, I think the lowest hanging fruit is in the financial services space. They are not just trials or demos. For example, a bunch of Brazilian operators have actually standardized on the number verification and location API, also the SIM swap API. Basically, if you're at an ATM and you're withdrawing cash, the bank wants to know if you are actually there. So one way to do that is to hit your mobile phone and figure out if your location says the same as what that ATM's location is. So in some sense, that's a real use case that's actually right uh, here and now. There's use cases in quality on demand. Right? I mean, for example, there are some interesting use cases around just streaming and AR, VR, both consumer as well as business to business. On the consumer side, you can pretend like, you can imagine like you're actually in a stadium and you actually need a higher bandwidth like feed that you want to broadcast to your friends if they're missing out on a concert or a sporting event. But then you could also have a very serious application where there are ships out at sea and it's a congested port and they need to be provided a video feed. And you can do that only on cellular now because they're out at port. And, that's a real use case that's happening in Belgium right now. So there's a bunch of, I can say, things have moved beyond the pilot phase right now. People are actually now getting into production. But to your question, if you're really looking for like at scale, I think it's still early days, and we'll see the evolution.
Fantastic. So if you're a developer shop or maybe a telco getting started with the low code journey, any advice in getting started and handling integration challenges and the onboarding experience and bridging the gap between legacy systems and the new applications? What are your best practices there for success?
Yeah, I think that what we're trying to do, Evan, is we are a platform company. So what we're
Mm,
trying to do is we're saying, look, we'll there are many people at various levels of maturity. To your point, there's people who've got legacy challenges, people who've got integration challenges, people who may not have development teams, right? Look, this network APIs, in some sense, actually opens up the opportunity for a disaggregated market so you can have a parking garage operator, it could be a parking garage application. Just imagine that garage operator is not going to have. I think that the way we are looking at this is what can we do? If we just take WaveMaker Studio today, WaveMaker platform or studio for developers, that may actually only solve the problem for a fraction of these, like I said, market segments or maturity levels. Right? So what we're doing is, and we'll make an announcement shortly, just after Mobile World Congress. Mobile World Congress is so noisy, so we're waiting for a week after that to settle down. But I'll be there anyways, just to kind of catch the fun. But we're making an announcement to actually build abstracted components. Think of like building blocks. Think of like Lego building blocks that have these APIs, but have some understanding of where you want to use them. For example, if it's a quality on demand API, and typically you want a boost of bandwidth on demand. Right? Literally, you just say, I want a boost of like 25 Mbps. Right? 25 is too small. Let's say 100. You should be able to do that. And can you actually get a component like that that's tested, pre-baked, does error handling, does all that? So effectively like a Stripe checkout engine or
Mm.
Shopify commerce component. Right? What does Shopify do? If you just think about it, just making the job of millions of merchants much more easier by giving them this rich library of APIs for commerce, which have APIs encapsulated, but you have these UI widgets. So you can take those UI widgets, you can stick it into your application just with a few lines of code, and then you're off to the races. That's the mission. That's what we are. That's what we want to work in. That's not announced yet. We're getting there. What you see on the WaveMaker website is just the platform today. We reached the last 11 years, but we're going to get there.
Wow, that is a fantastic opportunity, almost like an app store kind of approach for developers, something I can imagine is much needed. What's next for WaveMaker? Where are you looking at investing in terms of resources, industries, or technology? What are you focused on over the next few months, a year or two?
Yeah, so we've got some interesting times ahead. Even as much as we are super focused, we are also very aware of what's happening around us. Like I said, in one area of we brought up AI earlier. So the one area that we are like very focused on is AI code generation. WaveMaker's been an experience-centric platform, so experiences that are, like I said, B2C, modern, classy, high-fidelity UX. A lot of our customers also tend to be fairly religious when it comes to like what experience stack they want to use. We've historically been on Angular. We are also thinking of moving down to React, which is a very popular framework for web. For mobile, we launched React Native 2 years ago. Mobile is really exploding right now. I can't imagine, where we'll be in just a year from now, because the demand that we're seeing for native applications from enterprises is just booming. That was not a thing 2 years ago because people still felt like we would get away with a web responsive application or something, but this consumer apps, right, the stuff that we all use, I think people have gotten used to that. They really want classy mobile native applications. Mobile is going to be a big, big thrust for us. The third place that we're going to really, really focus on, which we just, like I said, announced, is auto code. So helping get people, at least to start with the Figma domain, people from Figma to go to working WaveMaker UI in minutes. So you just run a plugin and then it auto converts it with 100% pixel to pixel matched. Is what here, there you go. So that's kind of the Figma auto code play. So that's really third area we're going to double down on. Right? And last but not the least, and since we brought up network APIs, this is a brand new thing that we're going to launch this year, which is going to be effectively, like I said, Stripe for network APIs, right? So that's the big, big thrust that we're also focused on telco space.
Wow, exciting times, lots to discuss. And I can't wait to meet you personally at MWC. I think you'll be there. Love to catch up and explore what's next in mobile, web, and beyond. Thanks so much for joining, Vikram.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Evan.
And thanks, everyone, for listening and watching. See you at MWC. Take care.